the most interesting guests in the music industry, entertainment, art, and politics step into the studio for Turning Point with Frank MacKay. And now, Turning Point with Frank MacKay.
Welcome to Turning Point. Our very special guest today is Dan Spitz, lead guitarist of the band Anthrax. Dan, how are you?
All right, having a good day here today. Thanks for having me on.
Where are you based out of?
We're in Palm Beach, Florida, where it's nice and warm and toasty in the middle of the winter and palm trees and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, well, not your hometown. Your former hometown is not experiencing as nice a weather. Rockland County, right? New York?
That's right. Rockland County is, for those who don't know, about a half hour north of Manhattan, and that's where I grew up. And I also had a house 1 mile from the original Woodstock, 1969 Woodstock, where Hendrix played Woodstock, site that we would spend all summer at. Went to day camp up there and had like a small community of like a couple hundred homes on a lake with boats and all that kind of cool stuff. And that's where some of my lifelong friends are from. And so we got to, when I was about 8 years old when Woodstock was there, and give out water to all the hippies who camped out in my backyard, because there's only two access roads to that site, and one of them goes behind my house and where all my land was, what my dad had owned. So all the tents were on my backyard and all that kind of cool stuff. So there's been music around me at all times. And what's funny is people, now it's rebuilt up there, and there's always those anniversaries and all that kind of stuff. And I remember the 10th anniversary of Woodstock, and it was about me and 8 of my friends on the field, and there was nobody else.
Wow.
It's just like a big field,
Yeah.
We grew up there, and it wasn't until about like the 20th that when they got the rights to put up the monument and all that kind of stuff. After Max Yasgur, who owned the land, died, his wife finally caved in and let the monument go up, because he was pissed that the way they left the land after the concert, like it was his land was destroyed. That was his income. And he was pissed and swore that, no one would touch my land again, So he never let them build the monument. And once he was dead, then it all kind of came alive. So, yeah, there's just music everywhere where I go, man.
And we're with Dan Spitz, lead guitarist of the band Anthrax. Did you know Max Yasgur personally?
Yes, I did. I did know Max Yasgur. My dad was an attorney that did a lot of work. He's an attorney in Manhattan, but he did a lot of work for his friends up there. Was the chief deputy sheriff up there, so he did a lot of work during the summertime for people and the in need people, if you know what I mean, for the community. And yes, Max was a friend that we knew. Yes.
When did you start playing guitar?
Well, I kind of followed suit from my brother. For those who don't know, my brother is Dave the Bee Spitz. He's played in Black Sabbath and White Lion and Great White, and as far as I'm concerned, one of the top bass players ever to walk the planet.
Yeah.
He's
about 5 years older, right? Is he about 5 years?
He's about 5 years old, and now he's an attorney down here in Florida as well. And so he was always, blasting me out of bed, playing bass. And so as a little brother would do, I kind of followed suit, but, picked up the guitar. And my dad, his hobby was collecting really loud stereos, like giant thousands of watt amplifiers with huge speakers. And he was into big band jazz, Frank Sinatra, Benny Goodman, guitar players like Django Reinhardt were blasting in my house at 6 a.m. on a Saturday, even when we were teenagers, and going out and getting drunk and all that kind of stuff that teenagers do, and not coming home till 4 a.m. At about 6, all of a sudden, you're hearing horn sections blasting at 1,000 watts in my house. So I've had a funny childhood of not being able to escape music, and I'm very thankful for that, because that's, I guess, where my uniqueness of how I play came from. And I always strive for that. To me, it's not a matter of exact proficiency that makes someone an artist. It's a uniqueness where within a few seconds anyone can describe or know who that person is. Just like you listen to, say, Joe Perry from Aerosmith, and in 2 seconds you know who he is, or Frank Zappa, or that's to me an artist. There are, you can separate that and call people shredders.
Yeah.
And say, man, wow, what a proficiency there. That gentleman doesn't make any mistakes whatsoever. And that's also incredible. But for me, I strive for uniqueness in what I do and call it art, and rather than just playing music.
Well, you mentioned Django, and just in passing, kind of, did you listen to many jazz guitarists?
Yeah, I grew up, the first thing I did was take a year of jazz lessons from a gentleman named Richie Hart, who is George Benson's guitar player.
Wow.
And that's what got me going fast. And then I moved into the school jazz band. And even though I was kind of a metalhead, I figured I would gain speed faster in the learning process by studying with someone like that. And after about a year, he was trying to tell me things that I didn't agree with, such as, you don't vibrato a note, you bend it to exactness. And, and I'm sitting there listening to like Van Halen 1 going, dude,
right.
Are you freaking out of your mind? Like, I'm saying to myself, this is my last lesson with you. Like, I'm done now. I know enough.
Yeah.
And I went to a guy in my neighborhood, and I took like 2 lessons from this guy, teaching me like AC/DC and Van Halen songs, and then that's all I needed to know, and I just taught myself from that point on.
What age was that?
Yeah, you got to remember, that's before the internet, and you could just get tabs and all that kind of stuff that everyone has now. It's you're on your own, dude.
Yeah, you needed records. Every once in a while, a guitar player would put something.
Yeah, we were like slowing the records down with our finger, like we didn't have computers to keep it in key as it slows down, and but back then that's what made us. Like someone say, such as me and Scott and James and Kirk from Metallica and the guys in Slayer and Mustaine and everybody. That's what made us the players that we are when we finally hit the studio. And we had our sound of where we came from in our heads, and we were trying to invent that sound and have amplifier companies and make different amps for us that covered bass guitar frequencies that didn't exist yet and all that. But when we finally hit the studio, we were workaholics, and we were perfectionists, where it was, one take Joe, and then double that track, and then triple it, and then quadruple it. And, those times, didn't exist before us. And it's only because of what we grew up with and our determination to be perfect but in a non-perfect way, be unique.
How do you like the new developments, or relatively new developments, like Pro Tools and things? Do you have a setup in your home?
Oh, of course. I'm Mr. Technology, as anyone that knows me knows. I took 10, 15 years off and headed to Switzerland to mess around with the world's most complicated mechanical watches. So my room when I was growing up looked like freaking NASA blew up at all times. I'm always the fix-it guy.
Yeah,
and that was my dad again. He was an attorney, and people that wouldn't pay him. He had a lot of clients in Manhattan that had that kind of like sold illegal cable boxes and illegal Gucci bags and illegal Sony stereos, and they would buy them by the truckloads, broken, and try and fix them. And the guy didn't pay him in full. He would just go in and fill his trunk up with a bunch of broken, AM, FM, 8-track record player things, and get like 10 of them. So he'd come home every night, and say, go out to the trunk, there's like 5, 6 stereos in there. One, the record player works, one, the 8-track works, one, the AM, FM works, one, 2 of them, I don't know, but if you can make something out of it, the guy wasn't paying me anyway. So, cool. So, I would bring him inside and just figure out how to rip them apart and make something out of them and make it work as a little kid. So, I was the kid in the neighborhood who was always fixing that kind of crap. So, for me, Pro Tools and, actually I use Ableton Live. That's my full bore, full on, my creative way. I like the way I can loop things and work in little blocks and move them around and so forth when I'm creating. So for me, I love technology. I embrace it, and once again, it comes from my past. I'm not one to conform to what is now. I'm one to hopefully look into 10% of what could be in the future and try to make that happen. And that's what I'm trying to do with with Red Lamb, and and break new ground. Nobody in music has stood for a permanent cause. Meaning just bringing awareness about my daily life, me and Candy, with our twins with autism.
We're with Dan Spitz, lead guitarist of the band Anthrax.
Turning Point with Frank MacKay returns right after this. Welcome back to Turning Point with Frank MacKay.
We're with Dan Spitz, lead guitarist of the band Anthrax. Well, let's give that a little bit of a setup. I spoke to Candy, and she's doing wonderful work, and the two of you are just doing great stuff. Dan Spitz, lead guitarist of Anthrax and Red Lamb, is also an advocate, a wonderful advocate for a very important cause, and that's autism. And you have twin boys that suffer from autism, and that's what sprung you guys into action. Let's tell us about Autism Speaks and everything else you guys are doing.
Well, Autism Speaks is the largest global organization that me and Candy had found when our children were diagnosed, and they weren't born autistic. Just so everyone knows, they were acting in movies with Maggie Gyllenhaal when they were 9 years old, or actually younger. They were in commercials with Brooke Shields, so speaking and acting and all that. So there's video proof, not by mommy and daddy, if you know what I mean, that everything was fine. And around 18 months to 16 months, they started to regress. And at that time, things like iPads and iPods weren't around to help, and there was a lot of, let's say, snake oil kind of stuff out there that people were trying to sell. And the first organization we found, it was just basically, here's your truthful information, was Autism Speaks. Like, we don't want anything from you. Here's your info, dude. There's not even a blood test to know your kid has it, blah, 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 blah. And we were like, that's really cool. And that's basically what, Red Lamb and Anarchy for Autism tour, it's a permanent tour. It's not one show somewhere to raise money or something like that. It's a permanent tour for just that same kind of thing, where just bring some awareness to the world that statistically, something's wrong when there's 1 in every 54th boy born is now going to be autistic, or on the spectrum, we call it, and there's schools popping up everywhere. And if you add up every other disease in the world, most of them, the big diseases, statistically, it doesn't come close to what this is. So it's kind of going to be a look into the Spitz household. So there'll be videos, video cameras on the road, and when Brenda and Jaden come out, you'll get to see the daily struggle that our family goes through, and get a little dose of reality, which is what thrash metal is. It's truth. Yeah. When we started this ride many years ago, Scott and I, and everyone else, what's called the Big Four now, it was about, hey man, we're so fed up with hey baby, I love you lyrics, and come on down and let's go drinking and get messed up. It was more about, look, dude, man, my day sucks. Yeah. And what I'm reading in the news, that really sucks. And it's about time, it comes from the punk era of just, like, it's time somebody just spoke every word being the truth of what bothers them,
Even blues, and if you go way back.
That's what Red Lamb is. It's like, you know what? Me and Candy live in a private hell here, and guess what? Here's a dose of truth, and I'm back to play, and, here you go, buddy.
Yeah. Well, the cause itself has such little awareness when it comes down to it. And you just said a statistic. Did you say 1 in 54 boys?
1 in 54 boys and 1 in every 88 human born now.
It's unbelievable.
And that's the CDC statistic, and actually, as you know, it takes them 6 years to come up with a statistic. So that statistic is actually quite old. But actually, I have to kind of disagree with you in one little thing there.
Yeah.
In most other art forms, such as film, there's many advocates. In car racing, there's huge advocates. Of course, most people know now as Dan Marino has huge foundations in football. In Europe, there's soccer people. There's no one in music that's not just, you can stamp advocate on my forehead. That's fine with me because I like that. But there's no one, say, in music, like putting a Dave Mustaine and a Dan Spitz together and going, hey, you know what, we're gonna co-write lyrics to a song, and try to make a little bit of headway here, underground style. Bro.
Does Dave have autism in his family?
Dave, no, but Dave has lived at my house, and that he's seen and and held my children, and knows what we go through. When I have to go out to his studio to record, he witnesses the daily struggle of my phone.
Yeah.
Meltdowns of, just, I can't even begin to explain what we go through.
Yeah.
You can't take your children anywhere. We have chains on our doors. We can't go. Me and Candy can't just go out to eat. Last week or so was the first time since they were born that Candy and I were able to go see a movie, because my eldest daughter is here, and that's the only person that knows their patterns. It's kind of they have coupled OCD, so nothing can change. The color of a cup, the way the straw is, the way you hand it to them, anything like that, nothing can change. They can't just adapt. You can't take them to the supermarket. When Candy's tried to take them to Target, she'd call me, and there's 3 cop cars around her car because the lady next to her thought that she was abusing her child because one of them went into a meltdown, and she's trying to calm them down, and he's screaming and, trying to self-injure himself. But when you look at our kids, they look normal. Don't think no one would think that they were autistic. So those are the things, that we go through, just 1% of what we go through here. So it's just about time, I pick up my guitar and play.
We're with Dan Spitz, lead guitarist of the band Anthrax.
Turning Point with Frank MacKay returns right after this. Welcome back to Turning Point with Frank MacKay.
We're with Dan Spitz, lead guitarist of the band Anthrax. Is traveling with the boys unheard of?
Different. We don't listen to certain people that tell us we can't.
Right.
We're especially Candy. Candy has the master's degrees, and I'm just a street smart dude. So we're a good team. Where when people tell us, "Oh, your kid will never talk. Your kid will never talk," and then the lady's been an autism therapist for 21 years, and she's about ready to give up, and not come anymore, and she's tried everything, and then that same day we turn around and we watch the kid, one of our children, reach in her bag, grab her iPhone, crack her code to get in, and start rearranging all our apps at 2 years old.
Amazing.
So they have heightened skills. From there they learned. This is before anyone knew that iPods at that time could help any autistic children.
Well, touch on that. I'm ignorant to that.
We don't take no for an answer. So, if you follow our Facebooks, you'll see we're always going to Disney, and there's people that write in, "Oh, have a good time, Dan and Candy." No, we don't have a good time. It's about keep taking them back, and they tell us what ride to go on. And after 10 times, they go on the same, Dumbo ride. You want to go on Dumbo? Dumbo. Okay, where you want to go now? You go on the next ride. Okay, where you want to go now? Dumbo. Back to Dumbo. A familiarity, that over and over through repetition, eventually, as they get older and older, we hope that they can go somewhere and live somewhat of a normal life. And, other people will tell us, "You can't do that." You know what, dude? Too bad.
Do you have a support group around of people that are going through the same thing that you're going through?
Well, of course, my wife is, a spokesperson for Autism Speaks, or face.
But I'm saying close by.
Almost billboard. So, yes, we have all, support groups everywhere of other people that live what we live, and or have lived it and have older children on the spectrum.
And what do you experience as far as the support goes? I mean, how far does it go? Now, you guys are in a different situation, I assume, financially than some people that deal with it. But it's got to be devastating financially for many couples or single parents out there that are raising autistic kids. I mean, all your money goes to dealing with the issue and the problems that surround autism. Am I right about that?
Yeah, of course. It's just it's millions and millions of dollars to raise one child. We have 2 identical mirror image twins who are affected differently, even though they're from the same egg. And then it's the same human, genome-wise, they have different sets of problems. So yes, it's we're fortunate enough where they just built a brand new autism school, literally at the end of our development. So that's we're blessed that way, but. The additional therapy and all that kind of stuff is you're on your own,
The website is autismspeaks.org, am I right?
Pardon me?
The website is autismspeaks.org.
Yes.
Yeah, let's just give it again. Autismspeaks.org for anyone who's
Well,
listening.
also, if whoever's going to be coming to Red Lamb shows, and as we build up speed a little bit and all that kind of stuff, there's going to be a few shirts that people can buy from a t-shirt company called Give Back Couture, which give back means obviously give back. That'll go to Autism Speaks, because they're just strictly information and research. They have their own research team, so that there's no BS between somebody else hiring people to give false information, And the other part is an organization that's literally going to put musical instruments into autism schools and into children on the spectrum, as we know what music can do across the board for not just autism, but so many other areas where it just can open so many doors that to people who were maybe not completely nonverbal, and all of a sudden they have a voice, just like I have a voice for my guitar. I'm a guy who never likes to leave the house, but I speak to my instrument, and why shouldn't these schools and these children be filled with all kinds of instruments? And so I'm here to kind of just give back a little bit,
Dan Spitz from Red Lamb and Anthrax. What could people do that want to be helpful to the cause? Where can, again, autismspeaks.org, I guess, is where you'd point them. But what can they do to be helpful?
Just follow what I'm doing, and it's just bringing awareness. That's all, really. It's just the awareness of something's wrong. When I grew up, there wasn't autism schools. There wasn't a need for them. So something's wrong, and in true metal style, we're not just metal people anymore. We didn't go away like everyone said. We would all just grow up and start listening to freaking Burt Bacharach or something. Like we're a global force of people that people who started listening to metal back when Black Sabbath and so on and so forth started. They're all politicians and lawyers and doctors and in a global way. We're a very, very powerful force, just like the movie industry is. If we all kind of get together, and which we are starting to do now, a lot of people are starting to realize that we can really make an impact on humanity.
Dan Spitz has been our very special guest today. He's the lead guitarist of Red Lamb and is an advocate of autism. And autismspeaks.org is the name of is the website, and the name of the organization is Autism Speaks. Dan, also the lead guitarist from the band Anthrax. Dan, you're doing great things. You and your wife both. Congratulations on you guys. And hey, listen, God bless you.
And same to you. And we appreciate any and all time and effort that's made to just to help bring the awareness and get people to our shows. That's what it's all about. Just more and more people that will come to see Red Lamb, and hopefully the Anarchy for Autism tour, and in its infancy stage is going to be the same kind of thing as when me and Scott started Anthrax and everybody else in that infancy stage, that we helped to grow this to it's a continuum around the world that just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and more bands join in who are bigger and bigger, and it just becomes something really, really cool that opens the eyes of people who would have never have known about this before. That's all. Look, if two fans come to the show and they're just coming to see some good music, and it's a festival or whatever it is, and then there's Dan Spitz and Red Lamb, and one kid knows about my background, and he brought his friend, and the other friend goes, and he goes to his friend, hey, look, that's freaking Spitz. He used to be in that band Anthrax or whatever it is, and he's got two kids with autism. He punches him in the head, and the kid goes, what the hell is autism? And then the kid tells him, dude, it's this, it's that. That's all I'm trying to do.
Bring awareness.
Spread the disease from one to another.
Right.
I'm still spreading the disease.
Yeah. Oh, you're doing great things. Hey, listen, both you and Candy, once again, congratulations. Thanks all for what all you guys are doing. Thanks for being here on the show, too, and please, let's do a follow-up on this.
You got it.
Dan Spitz has been our special guest on Turning Point. Thank you for tuning in. And, again, check out autismspeaks.org, autismspeaks.org. And check out Red Lamb whenever you get a chance. Great band, Dave Mustaine and Dan Spitz. We'll talk to you all next week on Turning Point. Thanks for tuning in.
Turning Point with Frank MacKay is brought to you by Herman, Katz, Conjemi and Klein, Duffy & Duffy, Gold Coast Bank, Heartland Business Center, Morgan Stanley and Smith Barney of PC Wealth Management, and the Hagedorn Little Village School in Seaford, New York. Turning Point with Frank MacKay was produced by GVP Digital Media in Ronkonkoma, New York. Executive producers Frank MacKay and Harry Oates. Associate producers Kristen and John MacKay. Audio and studio engineering Brittany Fergo and Francis Kazmarek. Hotel and accommodations provided by Ohika Castle Hotel and Estates in Huntington, New York. Transportation services provided by Mark of Elegance Limousine in Hauppauge, New York. Catering services provided by Cella Bagels of Selden, New York.